my friends, Lindsay here from Lynn's Handmade Designs, popping in with a quick down and dirty tutorial for how to make our Stephan Sport Duffel in leather. Now, this isn't going to be a full-length step-by-step tutorial for how to make the Stephan Sport Duffel. I've already done that, and I would hope that you've already watched that video and that you've actually already made it in the materials it was actually written for, because leather is a whole different beast. Please let this not be your first leather project if you're looking to get your feet wet. This is not it, I promise you. When it comes to choosing the right leather for a duffel bag, the two things that I'm going to recommend the most is not to go thick and heavy. When I think of leather, I think of durable, but I also think of heavy. And the last thing that I want is to make a duffel bag that when it's finished, it's empty and it is hefty. So I personally would not go for a really heavy drapey leather. So stick around 2 to 3 ounces. Just keep in mind you can always add stabilizer to a thinner leather. But if you don't have a skiver and it's a really thick leather throughout the whole hide, like there's really no way to get around that unless you have a giant splitter as well. Whole different ballgame. I'm not going to go into those details, but like I said, when it comes to leather, there's just a lot of things to learn. So I'm just simply giving you a down and dirty tutorial of the modifications I used and what I did so that you can make it in leather if you have experience sewing with leather. You're going to definitely want some sort of an industrial machine if you're sewing with leather. I sewed up this bag jumping back and forth between my Juki DU 1181 and walking foot machine and my Sailrite Ultrafeed LS. And honestly, both of them really struggled sewing this leather portion folded. And I didn't skive this portion, and I probably should have, but I did end up skiving all the edges of all the other pattern pieces because the bulk can add up. I also still made this version with that burrito, and we're still turning the end panels. So yes, it can be done, and I did it, and it's got a nice clean tacked interior, which I still love. So I just wanted to show you that you can still make it in leather. Just be mindful of the type of leather you choose. Pick one with a little stiffer temper, but lighter weight. For the lining, I still chose to use the OtterTex 300 denier waterproof hexagon grid ripstop because it is my absolute favorite for the lining of these bags. And then I cut enough for the shoe pocket as well. So the requirements for that did not change doing this leather version. Now, as you can see for the leather portion, I did start off with a half hide, but it had already been cut into for a previous bag I made. So you're going to want at least a half hide, if not a full hide, so that you have wiggle room in case you have any errors. As it was, I just was going off a hope and a prayer that I had enough, and I literally used every last scrap of this hide, and I didn't have any wiggle room for error because I had nothing left. The leather I'm using is about 3 ounces, but I didn't want it to end up too thick towards the end, so I did choose to skive all of the edges, and I took about a 1/2 inch skive. Ooh, what a messy process. Now, I personally like metal zipper teeth with my leather projects, but you certainly could do the nylon coil zipper by the yard as well. But because these have the metal teeth, I am removing them with some zipper nippers, about 3/8 to a 1/2 inch from the edge on each side for all of those zippers, because we want those metal teeth out of our seam allowance. After all the teeth are removed, I will quickly pass a lighter over that to stop any unwanted fraying. Next, I'm doing that 90-degree turn off to the side like we do with the nylon coil. If I had zipper stops in this antique bronze finish, I would have used those first, but as it was, I don't own any of those stops. Hindsight is 20/20. When I order zippers in a finish, I should get stoppers to match. But as it is, I'm still turning it off to the 90-degree angle to the side and finishing it the same way we do with nylon coil zipper. Now, as I add the zipper pull, you can see there along the edge where I've removed the teeth. So when I go to attach the gusset, it will not be sewing through any metal teeth. I did that on both ends on both zipper panels. Now for these grab tabs, I did make it the same way as I wrote for it in the pattern, except I did skive the whole backside of these tabs and folded the long edges in for a finished edge on the side. Now if you don't have a skiver, I would just recommend cutting these tabs only 1 inch wide, leaving the edges raw, folding them wrong sides together, and clipping on the edge like this to reduce bulk. After pausing to get my kiddos from school, I had some studio help, so I put them to work. Now for these end panels, I did want a little bit more structure, so after I sandwiched the lining piece on and turn it right side out, through the hole along the bottom, I did add some Selpa, adhesive Selpa, for a little more structure. Moving on to the main zipper closure, you can see here I'm using magnetic snaps instead of Velcro. Couldn't bear the thought of using Velcro on a leather bag, so the only modification here is instead of going a 1/4 inch up from the folded edge, I went about a 1/2 inch, and then I brought each magnetic snap in about 1 inch from each long end. Other than that, yes, I still constructed it the same way, including turning it right side out once right sides were sewed together along that zipper. So I'm just using the handle of my mallet to kind of give me some oomph to get it started. It's a wonderful tool to use if you have something that you can stick in there, because leather can be a little bit stiffer than any other material. Once we get that main zipper placket ready for top stitching, instead of sewing across the end at 1 inch from the edge, I actually went a little bit further and went maybe about 1.25 inches because I wanted those magnetic snaps to be centered within that stitching line. Now for the female portion of the snap, line up the zipper placket end with the left hand edge of the main body and the main zipper placket with the right hand edge of the main body so that they overlap. Then press firmly into the zipper placket end, and then you'll have those markings where you'll install the female portion. Just unfold that zipper placket end and install your magnetic snaps. I use the washer portion to mark my slits, and then I transfer those markings and use my seam ripper to cut the holes. We're only cutting through the one layer, so that's why we keep it unfolded for this next step. Once the snaps are fully installed, I like to personally take some duct tape and cover those rough prongs so that they don't rub through the placket. Then you just fold it back over and top stitch and baste along the edge just like we do in the written instructions. This next section was another modification I chose to do for my leather version. At this point, I've spent quite a bit of money on the materials and I want this bag to last. So I already knew going in I wanted to add some purse feet, but I also wanted to add a little bit of reinforcement below those purse feet. So I cut a couple strips of a thicker veg tan leather and I cut it shorter than the base. So I left about 1 inch along the top and along the bottom. I cut 3 of them, added some double-sided tape before I ended up stitching those in place and then adding some purse feet on top of that. I am adding some duct tape to the backs of those screw-on backs. That paired with the semi-permanent Threadlocker glue helps ensure that these purse feet do not come out over time. I wanted to still use leather for my grab handle, so instead of the 1.5 inch webbing, I cut my leather strips 3 inches wide and folded the long edges to the center. Then I stitched along the center seams to tack that in place, measured out the appropriate grab handle portion, folded in half, and stitched along that folded portion as well. Another thing to mention is that there's a small space below the folded over portion and then the bottom portion that gets attached to the bag that won't have any stitching along the side edges. So I did proactively stitch that 3-inch gap below the folded edge portion and before the portion that gets attached to the bag so that it would look cohesive. And you might be thinking that we don't do the burrito method in the leather version because of the layers getting thick, but no, I still did the burrito method. I liked that tacked lining inside the bag and it still worked out. Of course, you're just going to want to take your time and go slow, carefully turning it right side out, but it is absolutely doable provided you do not choose super thick, heavy leather. For all the other versions of this bag that I made, I'm a really big fan of using double-sided tape to attach things, but I can't use double-sided tape with wax canvas and it doesn't really stick that well to this leather either. So for this instance, I chose to use staples, and those are a wonderful help keeping everything from shifting out of place. And of course, once it's fully stitched in place, go ahead and remove those staples before moving on. And stitched on. Here's what it looks like inside. Moment of truth. Why am I sweating? Binding is on. It's the only binding in the bag. Now we turn right side out. Labor of love, like I can't even begin to tell you. Look how big this thing is. Golly, is it massive. Ah. Look at this behemoth. Oh my goodness.